Before moving on to the customary duty of giving Will some difficult minutes and basically taking the piss out of it, there are some thank yous that I would like to do. And basically, without these people, today wouldn't have been anywhere near as amazing or special as it has been. Firstly, I'd like to thank Emily's closest friends, who, first of all, I think you all look lovely today. I've done a fantastic job, not least in making sure that actually Emily went through with it. I think we'll all agree that these ladies are only eclipsed today by Emily herself. I think it looks absolutely amazing. I'd also like to thank Will's friends for doing a great job, most importantly in keeping him sober until now, and also making sure that he actually found his way to the windmill, which those of you who know Will is sometimes a difficult task. Personally, I'd also like to make a special mention to Cully, who, unlike on the stag, who has actually managed to turn up on time. Finally, I'd like to make a very special thanks to both of Emily and Will's families for the support they've given them throughout this process and making sure that today was such a special occasion. Wait for it. They say that a good best man speech is like a miniskirt. Short enough to be interesting, but long enough to cover the essential. So here we go. As Will's best men, as we were, our main responsibility was to make sure that he arrived on time, looking relaxed and looking good. Now, for those of you who know William particularly well, these are probably descriptions that don't roll off the tongue. Therefore, it was safe to say this was quite a difficult task for us. However, here he is, looking particularly less sweaty and more relaxed than he did 4 hours ago. Before writing this speech, we were given the helpful advice from William that he couldn't actually decide on who he wanted his best man to be. Now, I'm not sure if that reflects more on William being particularly indecisive or the fact that he perhaps didn't trust one of us enough to do the job. But he basically said that he'd like a group of us to sort of get together and come up with some ideas and sort of create a combined wedding speech together, which was really helpful and made things much more complicated. Which again, thanks a lot, Will, it was great. But we decided, once we sort of got together, that perhaps we should get some tips. So we decided to look on the internet for some ideas. And this turned out to be an inspired suggestion. We found some terrific sites, but after about 3 hours we realised that we were actually meant to be looking for weddings. It wasn't a complete waste of time though, and we did end up with one mail order bride and a number of us are now friends with a transvestite Hells Angel. Anyway, enough about that. So on to William himself. He was born on the 9th of September 1981, and he shares his birthday with Otis Redding, Michael Bublé and Hugh Grant, to name a few. All very talented in their own way. He would suggest the omens were good for William. And for a while he did show some promise as a budding musician, playing trumpet in the school band for a number of years. It's a shame that he didn't really carry this through, because it would have been lovely to hear him serenade us perhaps with his trumpet playing today. Never mind, perhaps we'll have to ask Jan to dust down the trumpet.
And the key. Drink some more alcohol.
Many hilarious stories about William over the years, but most of these are pretty much inappropriate for an occasion such as today. However, we have managed to come up with a few, which Owen is now going to recount for you.
So, Will was a bit of a slow starter at nursery and was very different to the other 5-year-olds. Because he was the size of an 11-year-old. I can tell you he's very well read. He got through at an early age all of Derek Reader's wife there. So, going on to the early years, as many of you know, that Will and Charlie spent many of their early years growing up in Hong Kong. There were many stories that emigrated back with them, back from Hong Kong, but this is one of our favourites. I'm sure you guys know what's coming. So the Eek family were enjoying some drinks in a bar on a small island, not far from Discovery Bay where they lived. Will was a little bit bored and decided to wander up the beach, have a little walk, and sit down by the local shrubbery and fauna. On sitting down, young mischievous Will discovered a box of matches. He thought, oh, I'll play with these a bit. He lit a few and watched them burn down to his long, gangly fingers. This got a bit boring, so he thought, oh, I wonder what will burn around me. Unfortunately, that year, it had been particularly hot. So this year, it was particularly hot in Asia, and the dry wood had become a bit too flammable. So the small fire that Will was hoping would light up his little face rapidly spread into a hot bushfire. Will panically, quickly buried the evidence, hiding the matches in the sand. He then ran over to the bar where his parents and other expats were getting quite inebriated by that time. He shouted, "Mum, Dad, the island's on fire!" The whole bar reluctantly put down the drinks to rescue the island from the impending inferno. After the desperately drunkenly stamping out of the fire, it was left a bit smouldering, and the bar and island was saved. Will was heralded as a young hero. Discovering the fire and alerting the sozzled, I can't say that word, that's good. Sozzled expats of its existence. It took years for the young arsonist to admit the real cause of the blaze. So, Will arrived on our shores at Saffron County High School in 1994. As he mentioned, he quickly tried to impress the girl with his Kirk Vane locks and his talk of his international rugby career. Apparently, he was very big in China. So, talking of his Kirk Vane looks, you might all know that Will's had a lot of looks over the years. And if you all look under your tables, underneath each of your tables, each one person on the table, they've got an envelope that's been hidden under the table. You can hold it up.
I was wondering what that was. What's that one? What is it?
It's in drag. Not usual.
Is that New Year's Eve?
I've seen this one before.
Have you got that one? It's Cat Neil. See that one? I might borrow that later. You might be asleep.
If you want to pass those round so everyone can get to see Will in all his glory, it's fantastic. So, he instantly made an impression on us by turning up at rugby and tackling Joe Mercer, who was one of the school hard men, and at 13, he had the sort of facial hair that Will's only now managed to achieve today, and then still dreams of. We all became friends with Will throughout the course of sorry. Obviously, they're not we all became friends with Will throughout the course of the school years together. And what we all said about him is it's impossible once you meet him not to like him. So Ben's parents will attest to this, and they regularly had him over to stay on weekends. This is due to Will's parents choosing to live in Essex's most remote farm, and presumably due to the early years of Will learning to play the trumpet. On one occasion, Will decided to stay over and make a little special concoction of drink. This was a gin and red wine. Silly, you might think, but this is especially silly when you realise that he was trying to spike my drink. On failing to do this, probably because as normal I'd fallen asleep, he decided the only logical thing to do was to drink this himself. He didn't like to see good alcohol go to waste, the trait I believe passed down from his father. This, as you might expect, did not end well. Will was predictably sick, blocking the toilet downstairs and flooding Ben's bathroom in their parents' house. He, in no fit state to clear this up, went back to bed for a few hours and then decided to leave in the early hours of the morning and go home, leaving the front door wide open. Somehow Ben's parents not only let him get away with this, but seemed to love him more for the antics. So, moving on to Will's mixed employment career. he's had many jobs, but his airport jobs could stick particularly in the middle. His first one was one that required lots of concentration, attention to detail, and a keen eye. Not traits uniquely associated with Will. Working in airport security is what he was doing, and his duties mainly involved patting down celebrities, including Lemmy from Motorhead, Stack, and sleeping in toilets. His second job was at Budget Rent-A-Car. His main responsibilities there were charging people over the odds for hire cars and directing confused and bewildered tourists in the wrong direction. Unfortunately, Will worked with me at Budget Rent-A-Car, which didn't really encourage the best behaviours in him providing accurate information to tourists. At one stage, a small, particularly confused Spanish man,
Spanish.
who for the purposes of this story we'll call Pablo.
Pablo, is that your uncle?
Where stands the express? Will in a flash replied. He replied and pointed Pablo down the airport. But unfortunately what Will pointed to was not the entrance to the train station, but was the little car towing the airport trolleys. To our amazement, Pablo then walked over to the trolleys and started to clamber on the back. It was only as repeatedly shouting, "No!" that prevented poor Pablo being transported down to Zone A on the back of the BAA trolleys. So, we've got a special surprise for you, Will. We've flown Pablo over to Spain to meet him, but sadly, he ran to say he was stuck in the airport because he couldn't find the train. As has already been mentioned, Will told Brett in sixth form that he would marry Emily when he was 30. But it was not until when But it's not when Will moved to London to live the dream of selling classified advertising space in random publications, Ferret Weekly, and Forthcoming News. He became close to Emily. Some would call it stalking, but luckily Emily didn't see it that way, and eventually she was worn down enough to go out with it. So, as previously mentioned, and in the box, there are many stories about Will, but sadly only a fraction are suitable for this audience. I'm sure if you get him enough wine, he'll tell most of them later.
Now, weddings are always proud moments, especially for parents, and I can imagine, not being a parent myself, but are often a day for not that I know of it. Reflection, so when they look back at their children and think how quickly they've grown up. For Emily's parents, I imagine they're thinking how quickly time has passed since their little baby has grown up. Will's, on the other hand, I imagine are probably wondering when the baby will actually grow up. It's strange how history repeats itself though. 30 years ago, Chris and Jane were sending Emily up to bed with a big dummy. And here we go
Oh, we like that one.
In all seriousness, though, Will and Emily are two of the most genuine and caring and special people that you're likely to meet. They've been best friends for most of their lives, and I'm sure you'll all agree deserve every happiness in the future. If there's such a thing as one person's one true love, then I would say that these two are the benchmark for that thing, for that statement. Or at least Emily is for William. I'm pretty sure that Emily tried desperately to avoid this ever happening. Like Owen has said, Will always did say that as far back as sixth form he was going to marry Emily when he was 30 years old, and he has done that. But he obviously knew that it would take well over a decade for him to actually wear her down. With the exciting prospect of a new member of the family only a couple of months away, these are clearly exciting times. It's been an honour for us both to be asked to share a special occasion and say a few words to mark the occasion. On behalf of the entire wedding party, we would also like to thank you all for coming and sharing in this special day, and particularly say a special thanks to the bride and groom's parents who have worked really, really hard, and without them, none of this would have been possible. So thank you very much. It now gives me immense pleasure to invite you all to raise your glasses in a toast to the bride and groom, Will and Emily.